Welcome back. There's the futures down about 82 points. That's a little bit better, but not a whole lot of movement before that big report we have at about 8:30. Making headlines, security regulators are asking high-frequency trading firms to hand over the details of their trading strategies. In some cases, this could even include secret computer codes. The Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, or FINRA, says the requests are part of investigations into suspicious market activity. The SEC has also begun making requests for proprietary trading data. Have you done any work on this, Andrew? And you saw that strategy session with the guy from Neuberger Berman, and Cooperman was on.
No, I have to admit, I don't know enough about this. This is one of those topics that I have not dug into, but I need to.
It's one of those issues where we know about the liquidity and how a lot of this stuff just makes the markets more liquid. So you will have proponents of it say, you can't really, it's like shooting the messenger. When something goes wrong, suddenly it's high-frequency trading. When things go up, no one complains about high-frequency trading. Only when things
Are you a fan of high-frequency trading?
I haven't decided. I was asking you because you do a lot of them.
I haven't dug in enough to come up with a view one way or the other of whether this is helping or hurting the cause. I have to imagine it's hurting the cause from the perspective just, we have more volatility.
These long-term guys, Cooperman or the guy from Neuberger, they invest for the long term. They don't see any economic benefit.
I don't see any economic benefit
stock
either.
For a minute and a half.
Could you argue without all that volume and the liquidity, then your volatility increases even more?
That's what I don't know, and that's why I'm on the fence.
Can you get back to me?
I will get back to you.
Okay,
I'll come back to you.
We're less than an hour away from the August employment report. 6 days away from President Obama's much-anticipated jobs plan announcement. Joining us is Mary Kay Henry, president of the Service Employees International Union. Our guest host, Congressman Michael Grimm, continues with us. Mary Kay, it's good to see you. Last time we were in Washington, what was that about? We were at the Labor Department. Was it maybe 3 months ago?
Yeah, I think it was May jobs numbers.
Was it May?
50. It was 55,000.
Yeah, it wasn't great then. And our employment number 9-1 or whatever it was isn't any better. And in terms of hopes for fiscal plans, these two parties are I think, even further apart back then. Do you still have some, you still plugging away with ideas that you think would help?
Yeah, I think the issue in our country is there's zillions of ideas, and the question is whether we're going to, as a nation, respond to this jobs emergency and make sure that millions of people can get back to work in good-paying jobs so we can get this economy going again.
It's funny because that's the one thing that the two parties agree on, that's what we want to do. We want to make it easier for everyone to hire, but that's where the agreement ends. The Republicans think that government is the problem, and the Democrats think that government is the answer to the problem. So that
is part of the solution.
You think it's part of the and we actually had a little bit of a meeting of minds that, to some extent, when we were down there. You really think that the free market can work with the government, let the free market decide which projects get done, but have the government sort of grease the skids, right? That was your idea when we were in D.C. You still push it? You getting anywhere with that?
Well, I was thinking about the difference between Ford Motor and Verizon. You know, we have a situation where Ford is now creating 7,000 U.S. manufacturing jobs for the first time in a long time, which I think is an incredible indicator of how government worked with the auto industry to get it back on its feet. And then we have Verizon, who's earned $24 billion in profits in this cycle, cut 20% of its workforce, and forced 45,000 workers out on strike.
Yeah, but
it's sort of the tail.
People would say Ford is the only company the government didn't have to bail out.
Well, it made a huge difference in terms of the whole industry standing.
And the infrastructure, and the suppliers and everything else. Right?
And Mary, where do you come down on what's going on with the NLRB and specifically the Boeing situation? That's an example where Boeing is creating jobs, but just not in the state that the union wants them to be.
Well, and we think it's an example of an employer taking advantage of economic uncertainty in a country where the creation of good jobs is so anemic that people can be frightened into surrendering their rights and trying to have a voice on the job in Washington State because the company is going to create jobs in South Carolina.
But they created. I know you know this because you're very in touch with that. You know they added 2,000 new union jobs at the same time in Washington. So this didn't take any union jobs away in Washington. It was just adding some jobs in South Carolina when we really do need jobs. You really can't see that maybe this gives the other side from you some ammunition to say that you know, talk is one thing, but action is another by this administration.
Right, and we can't just be talking about 2,000 jobs being created in a time when 15 million people are looking for full-time work. I think what we really need to expect from ourselves as a nation is how the private sector and government do work together to get millions of people back to work in good jobs now. It would be the best way to celebrate Labor Day.
Do you think that we need another stimulus package? Because I've been hearing quite a bit about that, about more government spending. Where do you sit on that issue?
Well, I think we need a series of very concrete ideas, like getting the highway bill passed and making sure that we get 1 million people rebuilding highways. We need to think about what Warren Buffett put on the table, and if we got all the millionaires to pay their fair share in this country, we could get 2.5 million people back together in those projects that we talked about the last time, where we invest in American innovation, because people are ready to go to work, and we have incredible resources in this country, and we just need to put them back in investing in good jobs now for millions of Americans.
So what do you know the president's going to talk about? Does the administration poll you for the SEIU's ideas on what do you think we're going to hear on Thursday?
We have incredible confidence that the president is going to call out the best in this nation and set the bar high, insisting that we get millions of jobs now, and then calling on Congress and the private sector to figure out ways that we get concrete investment in real jobs that people can see in their communities, to fix schools, to rebuild roads and bridges. There's lots of ideas.
How much of this, though, is going to be demagoguing business? I mean, one of the big issues that we've been batting around at this table today and almost every day is this idea that the president fundamentally is anti-business. I don't know if you believe that's the case, but clearly there are people who believe that he has actually created uncertainty, that he has actually undermined that issue as opposed to reinforce the confidence that the economy needs.
There's no point in we need business at the table to help figure out how to create jobs.
But do you think the president really gets that issue?
Absolutely, I do. And I think he's in overdrive trying to make sure he listens to business leaders, gets their ideas.
Do you think we're going to hear about the millionaires and billionaires, though? I mean, it's a talking point. Obviously, I even talk about the need I've talked about the need to tax some of those millionaires and billionaires, but I'm not sure that's the only answer.
Right, and I don't know that the president is going to put that answer on the table. I can tell you, for the working people that I've been traveling around this country talking to, it's amazing to hear the level of sacrifice that people have experienced all across this country in the past year.
I have to just ask this question.
Loss of hours.
Sorry, Mary, Congressman Grimm has a question for you.
If it's okay, and for you as well, I do not understand, is this the gap? Maybe it's the way my mind works. How does taxing those that create jobs incentivize them to create more jobs? We're going to tax the millionaires and billionaires that we keep hearing about, which, when you actually run the numbers, it doesn't scratch the surface. It's nothing more than a talking point. It's not a realistic answer to the problem, because it's not enough money to really do anything tangible. And you talk about building roads and bridges. That's what we should have done with the stimulus package.
Yeah, ask me the question in reverse. What has the tax cuts that have been on the table for the past 4 years, that has taken trillions of dollars out of government and our economy, done to create jobs? And now we're going to hear a jobs report today that is in the 70 to 90,000, when people are losing more and more work. And we want the country to acknowledge there's a jobs emergency. And we are capable of overcoming all of our differences, having business and government work together. We've done it before. We just witnessed it with Hurricane Irene, how everybody rallied, made sure people were safe. I was thinking to myself, why can't we treat the jobs emergency the same way we treated Hurricane Irene hitting the eastern seaboard?
Because no one came out and said, okay, if you're wealthy, you go out and you have to do this for the hurricane, and if you're at this economic level, you do something different. There was no demagoguery, there was no labeling, everyone came together. So that when you start off the premise by saying millionaires and billionaires, you're already, in my opinion, the conversation's already over. because we're already singling people out and starting class warfare. And I just don't think that's productive. There's no class warfare during Hurricane Irene. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. Your basement is flooded. The fire department's there to help, regardless.
And the response, my power's still off, so I'm mad about the whole response anyway. So I don't know if we did come together as much as we should have. Somehow we're out of time again, but I like the dialogue, and we appreciate it. And we all want the same thing. We know that. I hope we do get.
That's right.
I hope it is 70 to 90 today. I hope it's not. Hope it's not something where, even though that's an anemic number,
we need millions.
We do.
We need millions now.
Right. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. See you later.
Happy Labor Day to you all.
Okay. Thanks. You too.
Thanks. Let's get some jobs. Next, we're going to have a final roll call with our guest host, Congressman Michael Grimm, and then. Time is ticking away to that 8:30 a.m. release of the jobs report. We're going to be bringing that, the Labor Department.